Hello, State Representative Rick Jaspers here. It's election time. October 15th, it starts. For the next few weeks, we can have early voting, day of, absentee. I know you're excited to get out there and make your voice heard, just like I am, and I hope you vote for Rick.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to tonight's town hall meeting. My name is Parrish Lowry, and after thousands and thousands of applicants were considered, they've selected me to moderate tonight's town hall. And if you believe that, you don't need to be here tonight, okay? This town hall is being hosted by the Pickens County Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank them, President Amberly Godfrey, who's in the back. Thank you very much for putting this on tonight. We'd also like to thank Pickens County Junior High for providing this wonderful facility for us to host this event tonight. Let me start by introducing tonight's panel. First, please welcome Lumpkin County Chairman Chris Dockery. You can welcome him. Next, please welcome Pickens County Chairman Chris Stansel. And finally, please welcome Director of Pickens County Public Works Department, Kirk Anderson. We have a few special guests, elected officials with us tonight. We'd like to recognize first Pickens County Commissioners Josh Tippins and Josh Tatum. Thank you for being here. The Mayor of Talking Rock, James Bryant. And the Pickens County Sheriff, Donnie Craig. Thank you all for being here tonight. At this time, I'll turn it over to Chris Stansel. Chris?
So I just want to echo Parrish's comments on thanking everybody for being here tonight. Thanks for coming out. I know it's a busy season in October, and plenty of us have plenty going on, and we try to do the best we can to provide all the information we can. One of the beauties about a town hall dealing with something like a TSPLOST is we're putting an option in the voters' hands. This is not a decision that's been made. This is making a presentation to give you the information for how we've been able to come forward with a response to some of the questions that we've received. And one of the options is to provide that opportunity, but you as voters get to make that choice. And we as elected get to honor that choice, whether it's a yes or whether it's a no. So I kind of want to say that to set the stage tonight, that we're here to provide information. We're here to provide answers to questions. We're not here to try to persuade. We're not here to try to do a sales pitch per se, but we do want people to have facts and to have the information in front of you. So one of the important things is to try to get that out in front. A TSPLOST is basically a special 1 penny sales tax that is 100% for transportation needs, used exclusively for roads, bridges, sidewalk maintenance, and improvements that are related to roads. This is something that's not unique in the state of Georgia. There are 110 counties out of the 159 counties in the state of Georgia that do have a TSPLOST in place. This is something that many counties have found as an option for how they can provide the services that the community has requested in a way that does not affect property taxes. So this is one of those situations where we're trying to provide that option. In addition to the 110 counties that currently have a TSPLOST in place, there are 8 counties that we know of at this point in time that this will be an issue on the ballot, a referendum item on the ballot in 8 different counties. That's Douglas, Gilmer, just to our north, Gwinnett, Hall, Irwin, Jackson, Liberty, and Pickens. All 8 of these counties will also be holding this TSPLOST referendum in November. So not only the 110 that currently have it in place, but these 8 will be looking at moving forward with that. One of the questions that we get a lot of times is in relation to that. What are the sales tax rates in the different communities throughout the state of Georgia? And it's one of those that, because we only know what we have, that we've had this 7% sales tax for quite some period of time. This gives you a breakdown throughout the state of Georgia. There are 8 counties, or 8% of the counties, 2 counties, that have greater than, I'm going to start that whole sentence over again if you don't mind. There are 2 counties that have a sales tax higher than 8%. Within the rest of the counties throughout the state of Georgia, 108 counties have an 8-cent sales tax. 45 counties have a 7-cent sales tax, and 4 counties have a 6-cent sales tax. So this just kind of shows you a breakdown of how the state of Georgia is made up, and this is Like I said at the beginning, it's one of the great things about sales tax referendums is it's the voters choose whether or not they want to see this as something that's put in place or not. Looking at the motives of why would somebody vote for an increase in taxes, because that is one of those questions that we receive quite frequently. One, the obvious is it allows for safer roads. If you've driven many of the back roads, you realize that there are some that were built many, many years ago, and there's been very little maintenance that's been able to be done since the original construction of those roads. Improves the current condition of roads, the resurfacing projects that take place, and it also creates opportunities for new projects. So to kind of explain a little bit on each of those items, we have roughly 401 miles of roads in Pickens County. Out of that, a little over 300, and Kirk's got the specific, and I'll let him answer a little bit more in depth as to the breakdown of those roads. Many of those, about 300 miles, have some form of an asphalt surface on them. We're constantly trying to keep up with the roads that are traveled the most because they're the ones that deteriorate the most. Heavy trucks that are traveling, significant amount of traffic that's traveling. So we're constantly working on, and I'm sure many of you see that, the roads that have the most traffic that are coming across them, and it's preventing us, because of the funds that we have available, from getting onto some of those other smaller roads in subdivisions, tertiary roads that connect us in subdivisions. This gives us an opportunity, if the voters so choose, to be able to go after the opportunity to start paving and getting those roads improved as well. Where it says it creates opportunities for new projects, one particular area that separates from a TSPLOST, we currently have a special purpose local option sales tax, a SPLOST that's in place. And it's designated for a number of different project areas, and about 50% of what the county receives from that SPLOST tax, which is I think 43% of the overall total SPLOST tax, goes to our roads. So we're spending those funds currently to be able to keep up with on pace of about 10 miles of paving per year. Some years that spikes up, some years it's lower depending on the depth of what has to be done. If we're able to have a TSPLOST in place along with that SPLOST, we no longer have to use the SPLOST funds to cover roads. The SPLOST funds can then go to fund other projects that many have expressed a desire to the Board of Commissioners that you'd like to see done. For instance, parks and recreation. Each time we've had anything looked at to try to do a significant improvement to the park, it was around a $12 million price tag to do a total overhaul on the park. Well, that's something that in our general fund is not producing that level of revenue, and the percentage of SPLOST that's been allocated to that does not allow for that big of a project. So if we were able to pull the funds that are currently going to paving out of SPLOST, move those under a TSPLOST, those SPLOST funds could then be freed up to be used to work on a significant number of other projects. In addition to parks, we also have water infrastructure, trying to upgrade and replace lines in areas where upgrades need to be taking place. Our public safety, if you've looked at the price tag on a fire truck or an ambulance lately, you'll understand the significant cost on those projects to be able to try to do that for training locations and things to be able to take care of our public safety workers, and then for our sheriff's office as well, for the fleet, for the vehicles, for all the different things that they need. So this gives us the ability to have the funds that are no longer allocated specific to roads to be able to be used for those others, and we can make a significant amount of progress in that area. When we point that out and talking about the amount of funds that we're currently spending on paving, it obviously means that we've got double the amount of funds in the road paving projects availability. So it doubles what we're able to do, meaning that we can cut down on the amount of time for the roads to be maintained. The repair time for those roads can be cut in half. So we're currently probably on about a 25-year cycle of replacement for being able to improve our roads, just based on our current budget and what we're able to spend on improving those roads. We're on 25, and that's probably very optimistic to say we're on a 25 because we're having to go back and work on some other roads. This puts us on a much lower, it cuts that time in half to where roads will no longer be that old. We'll have the funds in place to be able to go through and try to take in those opportunities. Another reason why voters would ever choose to consider this was it lessens the burden on transportation improvements and maintenance. It takes away pressure from your general fund budget. The property tax rates, I know our Board of Commissioners has fought really hard to try to continue to do what we can for our millage rate to stay as low as it can, and we're continuing to try to fight that battle. But the cost of paving and all these other costs continue to go up. So this provides an alternative that the public has the opportunity to vote on and gives the option to where we can do it. It's paid for by everybody, whether you live in Pickens, whether you're visiting Pickens, whether you're a homeowner, whether you're a renter. It's anybody that spends money would be the ones that would then be providing that in that 1 cent sales tax that would be able to go into place. So it's shared. I know if you've watched these presentations from many other counties, there's a lot of times that there's a specific percentage that an estimated X percent of people will be helping pay that are not residents of the county. We've seen numbers for Pickens that show that that would be around 40%. I've also seen a number that says it would be around 20%. I really can't give you, there's no way, because the way the Department of Revenue tracks that data, there's no specific clear number that I can stand before you and say that I can prove to you that 25% of this would be collected from people outside of the county. What I can say is you can do the same as what we've done and go sit at several of the places throughout our community, whether it be Walmart, Racetrack, Quick Trip, all these different locations where along 515, and look at the tags that come through and look at the tags that are making purchases. And you'll find that there's a significant number of vehicles from outside of Pickens County that are coming through and making purchases. What the percentage is, I don't know, but that's just on a regular daily basis. Marble Festival was this past weekend. Everybody that came in from out of town last month, the sheriff hosted the Sheriff's Jeep Fest. All of the visitors that came in to visit that drove on the roads. I know Heritage Days in Talking Rock is coming up, and so there will be another wave of people that are coming into our community as well. All of those people then help fund this project, not just our citizens. So it does open that up. This is 100% the choice of voters. This is something that we're providing the information. We're trying to provide an opportunity. We've heard from the public on a regular basis for needs for improvement on parks, for needs for improvement on roads, for needs for improvement with the animal shelter, and with our water infrastructure. And so the Board of Commissioners has worked to try to find a way that we can put something before the voters to give you an option to do that. So that's what we're here tonight to do, is to try to provide that information to the public. We'd be here to answer questions. I know some of you may have some very specific questions that we'll try to do our best to answer. But we're very fortunate tonight. Chairman Chris Dockery has came over from Lumpkin County over in Dahlonega. Chairman Dockery has been their chairman since 2012. Has done a fantastic job with their Board of Commissioners, and he's going to share some thoughts and perspectives from their point of view of what things happened when they were able to put a TSPLOST in place. So if you join me in welcoming Chairman Dockery, and we'll turn the floor over to him.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. When I pulled up, I talked to a gentleman outside about his truck. I really liked his truck. So we had a good conversation about his F-350 four-wheel drive, and I felt like I was at home. And then I met the mayor of Talking Rock. We're both retired Army, and we had a good conversation. I thought, man, this is good. I feel like I'm in Lumpkin County right here at home. And then I walked in here and I saw about a third of the crowd was law enforcement. So I started kind of having some doubts. And then when the moderator introduced me, nobody clapped. I thought, oh my God, what have I got myself into? But no, it's certainly an honor to be here. And I just want to share with you some of the perspective from Lumpkin County and what we've been able to do with the TSPLOST. So I'm not going to read these slides. I just kind of want to hit some of the highlights. You can see up there, a lot of this Chris has already covered. I think on this slide, the biggest takeaway is your single county TSPLOST is a totally different thing than a regional TSPLOST. The regional TSPLOST was on the ballot in Lumpkin County back in 2012 when I first ran for office. I was opposed to it. I made it very well known that I was opposed to it because your money as a smaller county is feeder money to some larger jurisdiction for the improvements of their roads. That's how I felt then, that's how I feel now. So then the state legislatures went back and allowed for a single county TSPLOST, which is a much better deal for us in rural North Georgia. So we passed it by referendum in 2019. We're currently on our second TSPLOST. That TSPLOST was fulfilled and the voters liked what they saw, so they allowed us to do it again. Now, one of the things that we did, every county is going to be a little bit different, but one of the things we did in Lumpkin County is we funded our roads through TSPLOST, like Chris mentioned, but we also had some of the funding through our general fund. So what we said is we're going to take the money out of the general fund, which is primarily funded through property tax. We're going to take that line item out if we replace it with a sales tax, because the sales tax, it being a use tax, is a lot more fair than just people who own property to participate in maintaining the roads that everybody enjoys, not just property owners. So that was our way of thinking, and we followed through with that. So another thing we did is we identified, along with some of our municipalities, some key projects that we thought would be beneficial to the county and the city as a whole. And we said, if the TSPLOST passes, these are the improvements we're going to make. And one in particular, we had a very dangerous intersection next to our high school. And we said, if this passes, we have the money to fix this, then we're going to improve this intersection and involve a state road. So again, all of that money is kept locally. So you can look right here on this slide. It shows you our 2019 budget, how we were funding our roads. And then when the TSPLOST passed, you can see that $2.3 million came from the TSPLOST. And the biggest takeaway from this slide is you look at that bottom number. So we were able to do more that first year with the TSPLOST. One of the things that you have to consider, you see this slide right here, it talks about $5 million annually. That's what we collect through sales tax for our TSPLOST. But the big thing is, this is a multiplier, because there's state and federal funds that are available for roads, but guess what? You got to kind of ante up locally to be able to leverage those funds from the state and federal government. So if you've got a project that you really need to do and you go to the state and you say, hey, I really have this problem that needs to be fixed, then the state's going to say, what can you do locally? If you can say, well, we can come to the state and beg, then you're not going to have very much success getting anything done. But if you go to the state and say, we've got $2 million we can put into this project, if you can help us, I promise you they will listen. That's the biggest takeaway from the TSPLOST. It's not the money that you're generating locally, it's the money that you can leverage from the state if you have money locally to do so. Take a good look at this slide. I think everybody in this room would raise their hand that their personal or their household budget has increased in the last few years. So these are some numbers that I think are very telling. When you look at paving a road, if you pave like a 20 foot wide section of road, that surface should last around 15 years. We have over 400 miles of road in Lumpkin County that we're responsible for. And like Chris said, it's unsustainable. We were on a track to resurface every road every 32 years. So we're asking that road surface to last twice as long as what it's designed to last. So 10 years ago, you can see it was about $100,000 to pave a mile of road. Then 5 years ago, that went up to 18. Today, it's about $180,000 to pave a mile of road. Where does that money come from, folks? I mean, ask yourself, where does that money come from? Are you going to continue to depend on your property owners to come up with that money? Are you going to go to the state and ask for that money without anything locally to put toward the projects? Ask yourself that question. This is going to continue to increase. I don't think that you'll ever see this number start backing down. It's going to continue to increase. So if you're going to keep pace, you've got to have the money from somewhere. What does it mean when you look at 2019, we paid almost 11 miles of road? I mean, that's just basically all we could afford with our revenue streams. So then when we took TSPLOST in 2020 and we leveraged what's called LMIG, or that's a local maintenance and improvement grant from the state of Georgia, we took our TSPLOST money, and then when they added their part, we were able to pave nearly 26 miles of road. That's more sustainable when you're looking at paving your roads in your community. These are some of the things that we've done with TSPLOST. When we talk about the intersection of Oak Grove Road and Highway 19, that's the one next to the high school I was telling you about. very dangerous intersection. A lot of school kids, inexperienced drivers there. The state came in. We said, we've got money. They said, that's great. We'll even help you design it. So we didn't have to hire an engineer to design it. The DOT were so excited that we had money to help that they said, we want to help you design it. And this was a very complicated project there. You can see $750,000 worth of state funding that went toward that project. And we had about $1.1 million in TSPLOST money. The next bullet point there, don't discount this. This is some of the equipment that we bought. And you can look at the spreader truck, the skid steer, the loader, the mini excavator, and you say, well, that's all nice. Let me tell you, when we bought that mini excavator, I'm sure that Pickens County has a sidearm mower, and they go by and they trim the sides of the road. And I'm sure when they're on the east side of the county, somebody on the west side of the county is going to say, there's bushes that are overgrown in this intersection and I can't see to get out. Somebody's going to get killed. I've heard that many times. Well, when we bought this little mini excavator, we also bought a mower that goes on the end of that mini excavator. So now guess what? We can take a ton truck, a regular trailer, we can dispatch instead of having to drive from one end of the county to the other end of the county, and we can resolve that problem in a couple hours. And that constituent's happy, that intersection is safe, and it's a lot more efficient than having to run back and forth over the county. When I first took office, if anybody remembers the ice storm that happened in 2012, I've been in office less than a month, and we get hit with this ice storm and everything shut down. I know Pickens County got hit as well. And every county has contracts with disaster relief company or debris removal companies. So we called them in, and I told my county manager then, I said, let's watch how they do this, because they're doing it for profit. However they do it is the way that we need to consider doing it in the future. So when they came in with these debris trucks. I'm sure you've seen them if you've watched any news with the hurricanes. It's got the big boom on it. They just pick it up and they put it in their truck and they move on. So TSPLOST allowed us to buy one of those. So the recent storm, we had 47 trees down. 2 days later, our roads were cleared because we did not have to dispatch a lowboy, a backhoe, a chainsaw crew, all this stuff. We just took this truck and we went around the county and we cleaned our county up a lot more efficient than the old method that we were using. Mowing tractors, communication system, something that you don't want to overlook, but there's an expense to that. You know, as our public works guys are out and about, they have to be able to communicate with each other to find the most efficient way to do things. Building shoulders, just the equipment that we've been able to buy, being able to patch a pothole, having the appropriate equipment to go out and patch a pothole. This past 2 weeks, we've actually widened a little narrow road because you know what, my constituents called me and they said, there's a lot more houses here than they've ever been on this road. The school bus comes down through here and it's dangerous. So I went and looked at the road and I said, you know what, it's dangerous. So we had the money from TSPLOST. So we took our in-house crews, we went back and we widened that road 4 feet. Now the school bus has room to pass. It's safer. It's safer for the residents on that road. It's safer for the kids that are riding that school bus. And then there's certain little projects we've done as far as like our new rec center. We built a new rec center, a new swimming pool. So we were able to use TSPLOST to improve the road to that area. Within our park, we resurfaced some bridges within our recreation park, and then also just culvert replacement. When you have these big metal culverts under the road, the bottom of them's going to rust out. And you don't think about it, but when you replace that, you basically have to close the road down. You got to worry about emergency response. So this gives us the tools to do that and to do it more efficiently. A big thing, I think, as your community leaders move forward with the TSPLOST is what projects can you do together jointly. So this isn't just the county doing one thing, Talking Rock doing something else, Jasper doing so. Everybody, if you come up with projects that you can work on collectively, because everybody's going to have a little slice of that TSPLOST. So how do you do that and make it more efficient and better road systems for your whole community? So why does it make sense? I can tell you why I think it makes sense. It's because it keeps your property tax down. I think that is very important. Like Chris said, everybody that comes through here, Dahlonega and Lumpkin County is no different. We have visitors. We have a university there. Those students come with mom and daddy's credit cards. They're shopping at Walmart. They're eating in the restaurants. They're doing everything there. Those are outside dollars coming in. Those visitors, those students, everybody that comes through there enjoys our roads. We're big in agritourism. A lot of that is off local roads. All of those people are enjoying our local roads, but they weren't contributing one thing to maintaining those roads. This gives them an opportunity to participate. It keeps your tax dollars local. So if you have the opportunity to relieve some of the property tax burden, and the people that are locally or that are local or paying local sales tax, it keeps that money right there in the community. But it also gets that outside money into the community as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, as it relates to your local maintenance improvement grants, it allows you to leverage more grant money from state and federal government to be able to help with your roads. So that's kind of an overview of what I've seen and what I've experienced with the TSPLOST in Lumpkin County. I think our county is very similar in size, probably in budget with Pickens County. And, you know, I can tell you that it's been a godsend for us in Lumpkin County to be able to maintain our roads to what we think that our constituents expect those roads to be. So again, thank you for the opportunity. I think they're going to take questions in a minute. I'll be glad if somebody is bashful. I'm so passionate about this. If somebody doesn't want to ask a question in the crowd, ask me afterwards. Pull me to the side. I don't mind talking to you about it and answering any question you have. So I'll throw that out there. And I was just joking about all the law enforcement in here. I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to let the moderator take back over so he can open it up for questions. I know for many that may not know this, Chairman Docker's got to leave here as soon as this meeting's over and drive to Athens. So that shows how much he's committed to North Georgia and to looking out for his neighboring counties to go to a conference. So we're very, very thankful that he came over. I think he had some incredible points. So we'll give it back to Parrish and we'll open up for questions.
Thank you, Chairman. Does anybody have a question? If you do, please raise your hand. Amberly's got a microphone on that side of the room tonight. Yes.
You mind sharing your name?
Yeah, Chris DeMaio. So just a couple, maybe more of a comment than a quick question. So I thought this was a no-brainer, a great idea until I went to the Jasper, I guess it wasn't a town hall, it was a public hearing last night around the property tax increase. And I heard, you know, person after person tell a story about how $200 of incremental taxes is going to have a negative impact on their life, like a real impact. And it was pretty moving for me. So, Chris, I heard you talk a little bit about maintaining property taxes, like using this as a tool to do that, which is great. And I heard the other Chris, right, from Lumpkin, talk about how you rolled it back. So I would just ask you to seriously find a way to help the people of Pickens County to use this as a tool to roll back the military, if that is at all possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great question, a great observation, because we understand the situation that the public's under. One of the reasons, and I think he made a quick reference on it, prior to their TSPLOST, they were using a portion of general funds for paving. Currently, Pickens County is using SPLOST for paving, so it's not coming out of the general fund. The staffing of some of our staff is part of our general fund budget. I think a little over 12% of our budget goes to our public works department, which is primarily staff in the facility. So there are a couple of those items that could be affected to bring that down. It's not going to be a significant number, but as you can see, we've just had our 7th year on the county with incremental rollbacks. I know there have not been massive rollbacks, but there have been incremental rollbacks. Another item that's going to be on the same ballot that this ballot's going to have is House Bill 581 that the state is putting out that's going to work on affecting what we've seen happen with property values that have continued to increase. And so that's going to impact how counties have to respond. I know there's a lot of trying to gather information and wrap our heads around how that's going to impact, because it does put a cap at inflation so that property values won't continue to grow. I think that's been one of the biggest drivers in tax rates have came down for the county. I know that we, like I said, rolled it back again this time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the total bill came down, because if you had a value on your property that increased, it would increase that number. Timing wise, last year the state did an incredible thing by providing us with a credit. There was a grant that was put in place where almost every property owner got about a $500 break on their property tax last year, but it was a one-time break. And so everybody that receives their bill this year that did not understand the state gave that as a one-time break last year assumes that we raised it by that amount. We didn't. It's just that grant was no longer in place. So we're continuing to try to explore how can we be more efficient, what can we try to scale back so that we can continue the trend of rollbacks, and hopefully be able to continue increasing what that trend will be. That's something we're committed to. We're also responsible to provide services, and so we're going to try to do the best we can to balance. And I think this does give us a tool to try to find a way to do that.
I think every little bit helps. The second question is, you may not have an answer to this, but have you spoken to any of the larger retailers in the community, like Walmart, Kroger, Publix is coming to town, and have they shared with you what the impact is to their business? Because it is a price increase at the register.
So I have not. I know that as the counties around us have spoken. Look, Dawson County passed this just a few months ago, and I know Chairman Dockery was working with them, so I'll let him dive in here.
Zero.
Okay.
Absolutely no negative impact. Our sales numbers, as we collect those sales tax back, has very little effect.
Okay.
From 7% to the 8%.
Even if the counties around you adjacent have a lower tax rate, I don't know what the Lumpkin situation is, but I believe we have some counties that have a bit lower.
White County has not explored a TSPLOST. Habersham County explored a TSPLOST, it failed. Union explored a TSPLOST, it failed. It passed in Dawson County. I know Gilmer County, I went to their community and spoke with with a group over there. So we'll see where it goes. But I tell you, to start with, I'd be afraid of any government that had enough money to do whatever they thought they needed to do. I'll say that, I'm a taxpayer. But you saw the percentage of sales tax as it's distributed among the counties in the state. And 8% is pretty well the norm. The two counties that have over that are, I think it's DeKalb County and Fulton County, and the state allowed them to have 9%, and that's supposed to be to fix water and sewer infrastructure. So 8% is the cap as it stands today. And one thing that Chris touched on, it'll be on the ballot in the form of a referendum. It's House Referendum 1022 as it relates to the floating homestead exemption. So what that does is that caps how much property tax can go up annually, and it's based on the consumer price index, which is usually 2 to 3%. So when you think about funding your government through property tax, and then your local government is limited to that increase, even though that might not be fair market value, it creates a deficit. We've ran those numbers. And the longer that's in place, the wider that gap goes. So the question is, how do you replace that gap? And I can tell you, your local elected officials are in office for 4 years, and if there's no other means to do it, it's called increase the millage rate to make up that difference. And I don't think anybody wants that. So where do you get the money? A consumption tax, a sales tax, to me, is the most fair way to do it. So it takes X number of dollars for your government to operate, and if you don't have those dollars, then you cut service. If I take fire, EMS, and public safety, in our community that consumes 65% of our budget. So how much discretionary spending do you actually have when you do the general operation of your government and then you provide for the courts and public safety? Very little. So again, that's why I think it's really critical that you really consider the 1 cent sales tax for your roads and bridges, because you're going to see, I expect House Bill 581, which is the referendum, the 1022 that you'll see on the ballot, I expect that to pass just about in every county in the state, because who's not going to vote for themselves a tax break on property tax? So how do we make that up as a local government to continue to provide the level of service that you expect from your elected officials?
Any other questions, comments? Yes, sir. Andrew?
She's got it right there, coming behind.
Is it working?
It is.
All right. It's a pleasure being here tonight, and I'm enjoying the meeting. And it's good that you came in from next door to kind of enlighten us. Several things I think we need to think about. One of them, I've been here since 29 years ago. In fact, I was really lucky, is I bought a lot in Hummers Ridge, and the day before Palm Sunday, 29 years ago, and tornadoes come in and nailed 5 spots, and one of them happened to be my lot. And so I've watched the county grow, the city grow, and I hear voices about potholes. I'd like to see, as we go through and repair roads, maybe do a daily, not a daily, but a weekly report on which roads were worked on, so that the general public knows what's happening to their money, and that this pothole that they ran over 3 months ago is now fixed. The other thing is, I think we need to increase the fee that we charge developers that build subdivisions. I come off of Lumber Company Road, and I go out, the Lumber Company, and come out on Old Philadelphia, and there's a new subdivision going in there. And after experiencing the amount of traffic that goes down 515 past the racetrack, I said, there's got to be a traffic light there, because this is dangerous. And I look at that road, and 29 years ago, I had the wonderful experience of meeting a cow in the middle of the road who had gotten through the fence. So I called 911. I said, we've got a cow out here in the middle of the road. And so they called whoever owned it, and they come and got it. But nowadays, that road has turned into, it looks like a bypass for trucks. I mean, there's some big, long 40-foot trucks coming down that road. And with that newer development there and increased traffic on trucks, something needs to be done with that particular road, because I see an accident waiting to happen. But anyway, so I think you guys are doing a good job. Keep up the good work. I don't mind paying the extra penny. And I'd say spend it wisely.
Now, I think you brought up a great point on accountability. If we're going to collect and we're going to actually reach out to the voters to try to collect an extra penny, to find a good tool for how we share where that's going. There will be times where it's being built up for larger projects. I know that as Chairman Docker talked about some of the large projects that they had in Lumpkin, we have some as well. There's a widening project for Camp Road right there on the 515 between Camp, going in front of Amicola Electric and going toward Wendy's in that direction. There's no shoulder. There's a ditch. There's been a couple of fire trucks that have actually went into that ditch because of the lack of a shoulder. So a pretty extensive widening project that's there. There's a large drainage area in the area where you're talking about, right there at the intersection where Old Philadelphia comes back into Talking Rock Highway. That's going to require a significant amount of rerouting the stormwater that keeps flooding that road. That's going to actually assist us in trying to improve that intersection at the same time that we try to fix the drainage issue. So that's one of the other large projects that's there. There's a third one, and I just drew a blank. So Camp Road. So the widening there. Henderson Mountain's the other one. I completely drew a blank when I was sitting there thinking. Henderson Mountain that goes across the Salicoa area, part of Henderson Mountain. That road was built and the water lines are directly underneath the road. The water lines are your standard PVC pipe water lines sitting on top of rock. So the friction from the water flowing through the lines continually causes those to rupture, which means the road has to be cut up to fix a section of the line. As soon as you get one section patched, another section starts to break because it's 20 years old. We are looking at a new type of pipe that we can put in that is flexible, that is actually welded, sticks together, so that we can improve the way the water runs, because if you've driven through there's no shoulder to widen it, to put it out from under the road. And once we're able to get that water line replaced, we can finally get a good true surface that's not going to be a patchwork surface. If you're a quilter, it looks incredible because it looks like a perfect patchwork quilt as you go across Henderson Mountain right now, but I don't think most of us want our roads to mirror that. So that is another one of the big projects that we have on the radar, in addition to the standard trying to get the condition of the roads there. But I think you brought up an incredible point on the accountability. I think that we need to be accountable for every penny, and we need to come up with a system for how do we share that. I don't know that weekly may be possible. Monthly definitely would. Quarterly we could do more extensive. So I think that way we're providing updates to not only where your TSPLOST money goes, but that even on SPLOST projects that we can do a better job in trying to provide those large projects so that people are aware. The little yard signs don't work all the time, so we need to do a much better job at that. So thank you very much.
Other questions, comments?
Hey, my name is Daniel Bell. I won't stand up just to keep from preventing the people from behind me from seeing. I've lived here my entire life, been affiliated with the school system, and been affiliated with the TSPLOST. So I support taxes, sales taxes, alleviating, burdens on taxpayers. But what I see and what I've seen over the past 7 to 8 years is the sales tax in our county has substantially grown. So people coming in our county, whether it be local people or people, and obviously you gotta look, when you look at traffic on 515, we know that people from out of town are visiting our county and they're buying gas and they're spending money here, and that sales tax has increased substantially. Now, as the presentation showed, obviously cost over the past 6 or 7 years, things that you could do with X amount 6 or 7 years ago has increased along with that increase in revenue from the sales tax. My question would be, and maybe this is something that's on your website, maybe this is something that's in the county budget, and I've not looked there for this answer. But with the gas tax that we collect in this county, it's a state, and it's not a county gas tax, but at the 10, and I'm going to use an even number, 30 cents per gallon. That money, when it's collected, obviously we collect that revenue for the state of Georgia, as every county in the state of Georgia does. There's a certain amount of that money that's allocated back to the counties. And how much of that money does Pickens County get to keep? And is that money used for, as what that gas tax is used for? It's for that. Yeah. And when that's allocated, how much is that equivalent to? Is there a percentage of that?
It's not necessarily a percentage. They take your road miles and calculate it based on the number of road miles that you have. So Pickens County has averaged just in the ballpark right around $700,000 a year that we get from that LMIG tax that comes back to, that's the local mileage and improvement grant that Chairman Dockery was talking about a moment ago. And it roughly averages around $700,000. Last year, the governor actually released a larger fund, which essentially doubled for 1 year, We've allocated that toward a paving project for 25 that we had began to work on, but we ran out of time on the paving window to get that road paved. So we've got that bonus paving road that we get to carry over in terms of the state provided funds. But when you look at what we've been averaging spending, and I can speak to the last 4 years that I've been in office, and it's also only been 4 years since this current SPLOST has been in place. So it started being collected in 20. So 21 was the first year you really started to see that type of paving go. We've averaged around $3 million per year in paving. There were a couple substantially costly projects. Out of that, 700,000 was part of that grant that comes from that fuel tax. Fortunately, the state did build up a surplus in that because the governor has currently suspended that tax. During COVID, he suspended it. There have been a couple of times that they've suspended that tax so that our fuel prices went down, which has been incredible. We were nervous on county government level as to whether or not that was going to affect the amount that we were able to get, but it didn't. They were able to continue to provide that at that same rate. That's as we see the road mileage go up, it slightly would increase if new roads were either paved by the county, built by the county, or adopted into the county, then that could change that percentage. We could see a little bit larger, but it's not enough necessarily to maintain. If you're looking at only 700,000 in today's market, you're paving about 3 miles of road, maybe 4, just depending on if it had to have any work done on it. So that's kind of that number.
Okay, that's good, because that's something, obviously when we say 30 cents per gallon, that's a large number every time you fill up with gas.
It shows up in our budget, but it shows up just as an LMIG line item. So you don't really understand unless you know the language. It says the local mileage and improvement grant. It shows up in the budget, but it doesn't have it specific to fuel tax, because when the state sends it to us, they send it to us in the form of a grant. So.
Okay, so, and that makes sense. And just so people knows, that amount is lower than what you would collect in a month in your Pickens County.
Much lower. And estimated, I know that Chairman Doctor shared what they are able to collect on their TSPLOST. They estimated by looking at comparisons through the local option sales tax, SPLOST, eSPLOST, all that. Current estimates are showing over the next 5 years of roughly $10 million a year that would be able to be generated from that 1 penny sales tax. And out of that, based on the intergovernmental agreement with all the other agencies, the county would receive just a fraction lower than 80% of that portion that we would then be able to allocate out. So if you're looking at 80% of that $10 million, that's $8 million of paving money versus the 3 that we're currently able to put in play. So it would be a significant amount of improvement that I believe the general public would see results from very fast. I don't think this is something you've got to wait 4 years for all of a sudden to see, did this make a difference or not? I think you'd be able to see a difference fast in the projects that would be completed. I know that talking to the other cities with some of the project ideas that they've got in mind, I don't think you would only see the county be able to move toward improvements, cities would be able to move toward improvements, which would help people understand where it went, and like the gentleman before you, Mr. Goodrick, as he said just a couple moments ago, if we're good at sharing the story as to what else being done, and that puts the burden where we make sure that we're providing updates to the public, I think that's very beneficial.
Good. Thank you for clarifying. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Going once.
Mayor said if there were no more questions, he was going to sing it, so.
I should keep them coming.
All right, thanks guys. I think my name is Jason Davis, and I think what the first gentleman was talking about, we were at the city hall last night and talked about the increase in our property taxes and so forth, and with inflation just as crazy as it is right now, and that's no fault of you all or anyone on here, but it all affects us. And so, when you look at these 1% increase, like that affects mostly the people here in this county, right? I mean, there's people that pass through, but let's just say the average that 80% of it's going to be funded by us citizens of Pickens County and so forth. And so we're talking about adding a 1% to already outrageous prices in groceries and everything else and other services and everything else. It just seems like the timing for this is just, it's a terrible time for it. I mean, this might be a great idea maybe in a couple of years from now. I think it's just the way that inflation is just at the rate that it is at, and unemployment is people are on strike left and right here. I mean, so it just seems like it might be something to visit in the future, but I think right now, I think we're all kind of hurting here in terms of, being cash strapped, and the timing is not very good, I guess, right now.
I 100% respect that statement. One of the things, and I think I made the statement in my opening remarks, if I didn't, I apologize, but we respect and have planned for a yes vote, and we respect and have planned for a no vote, because we know families are in tough spots. We know that there's difficulty. We talk to people on a daily basis. What makes this so much easier being a referendum that the voters choose is it's directly from the voters. This isn't something you elected us, we have a public hearing and we make a choice. I know there's certain law, there's certain things that's our job that you elected us to do. Thankfully, sales tax is not one of those. Sales tax it's our job to try to provide you with the information as to what can we do with it, and then let the voters choose. And if it's chosen to be a no, we will continue to do all we can to operate the best we possibly can, and then potentially put it back out as the economy shifts and changes. The one beauty of our economy is it always seems to ebb and flow up and down, and so we may currently be down, we have a good opportunity to go back up. So I respect that completely. We are 100% right there with you on that. Yeah.
Another point to that too, there is a cost for waiting, and I'm with Chris. I 100% respect where you're at, but as these roads deteriorate, the cost of repairing them go up exponentially. I mean, you take a road that's in okay condition, if we can get by with putting an inch of asphalt over it this year, that's $100,000 a mile. Grandview, as most of y'all know, it got in terrible shape before it was repaired. That road cost $400,000 per mile to repair. So there is a price for waiting. And also, if we can do larger projects and let out larger projects at one time, we get a better price from the contractors. So, there's an efficiency there where we're making our money go further. But you've got to bear in mind, I know, it'd be nice to kick this can on down the road, but there's also a price for doing that too. And like I said, it goes up exponentially.
I'd like to speak to that too. When you look at a local government, you have services that you provide, and one of the basic services for a county commission is roads and bridges. As a matter of fact, it was originally called the Commissioner of Roads and Bridges. So that's one of the fundamental services that you provide. So, when you look at all the services that people provide, if some of you out there have kids that play park and rec sports, that's a section that you don't want to see cut. You expect your government to provide that, and you won't take anything less. If you have maybe elderly parents, then you certainly don't want to see your EMS cut or fire stations closed. So it's all about a perspective of what you expect as constituents for those services. I think roads is probably first and foremost in my mind is what our job is as commissioners. So having said that, there has to be a way to maintain those roads. You talked about the number of miles you have, and we talked about roads lasting 15 years, and then you start having problems with those roads. So having said that, the funding to maintain those roads, to meet the expectations of the citizens of Pickens County, has to come from somewhere. This is your opportunity as voters to determine where those funds come from. Whether it continues on the path of property taxes, and I'm not sitting here saying that Chris is going to raise the millage rate if you don't vote this tax. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if you plan to maintain your roads to an acceptable standard, the funding has to come from somewhere. And what the voters in Lumpkin County said is we want the people who enjoy our roads, not just the citizens of Lumpkin County, but all of those people who enjoy driving on our roads to participate in the funding of the maintenance of those roads and the improvement of those roads. So that's, I hear what you're saying, but where does that money come from? You know, when I talked about Lumpkin County, I said we were able to roll back the millage rate when we replaced it with a TSPLOST. That might not be how they budget, I don't know. But that is an example of how it relieves the burden on the property owners and lets everybody, visitors, citizens of the county, everybody help contribute. So it's, to me, a sales tax is a very fair tax. You know, why should you have to pay more just because you're fortunate enough to own property? Let everybody contribute. So.
She's coming.
I'll speak loud enough. When I first came here, land was about $3,000 an acre. She says I'm not speaking loud enough. Anyway, land was about $3,000 an acre, and now what's it running? 25, 30,000 an acre. But one of the biggest things, I think, I sincerely, I like the way the county operates in terms of, we just had a millage decrease in taxes, correct? And thank you for that. But one of the things, and I'm gonna probably speak out of turn here, but one of the things that just irritates the snot out of me is the yo-yos in Washington are causing all this not tax increase, but inflation and lower income. I mean, until we get off our butts and vote the right people in power, we're gonna see our dollar decreasing in value, and it's gonna cost us more and more to do the things that you want to do. So keep up the good work, and I hope everybody here votes. And that's all I have to say. God bless you.
Thank you.
I hope I'm not going to say Jeff.
I know that I will use this as a reminder that early voting will start next Tuesday, a week from today. Early voting will be at the community center over at Parks and Recreation. Brian Jones is looking forward to adding a new service to what we do. Instead of just basketball and all other sports, we're going to add voting as a new sport over at our community center. So, but definitely get out. Early voting will be open from now till the election starting on Tuesday. So, good opportunity for a reminder there.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm James Bryan, I'm the mayor of Talking Rock. I appreciate this opportunity to sit in this forum and listen to it. I want to speak on behalf of our constituents for the town of Talking Rock. I've been on the council since 2017. I've been the mayor for the past year, and I was mayor pro tem for a couple of years. What I ask for the citizens of the town of Talking Rock is to come down and look at our budget and what we're allocated. And we're a little small slice of Pickens County in the state of Georgia. But we're growing. Currently, right now, we have 8 businesses, and we need the sales tax. We have capital gains and improvements that we want to do within our small section, and there is no other place for that money to come from. None. Our operating budget today is roughly around $380,000. 3 or 4 years ago, it was about $100,000. Okay, and that's not a lot of money when you talk about improvements on our town hall or tourism when it comes to our park or roads or anything. And I get nervous and stressed out all the time to think about, I have all these constituents that come in and say, hey, I'd like to do this, Great, I'd love to do it too, but we just don't have the money. So where's it coming from? And, fortunately, it's growing in our property taxes. We've got a new subdivision coming in. We've got several other new folks that have moved in. But that's what I battle with all the time is that I want to check the block and make all these improvements. But I need you to come down and really look at the hard numbers and see where this money goes from. And when I see 1 million this, 1 million that, I'd love to have that problem. I would. I just don't have the money. But I want to be resourceful in the county. I want to provide things. I want everybody to come down and look at Talking Rock. Talking Rock is kicking butt. We've got some great new businesses. It's super excited. We're actually making things happen. And we've had to bridge that gap with the county, and Chris knows what I'm talking about. We have great sports support from Mayor Green and Mayor Radfield. We're coming together, and I'm super excited about that. And we're going nothing but the top, but I really need you to look at that. It's like this sales tax, as the chairman explained, this is money that's coming from someone up from Florida when they're going to Blue Ridge and they're buying gas at that racetrack. That's the money that we're going to get. That's going to help with our roads. And it's creeping up on us. And I just want people to think about that. Even in our own private subdivisions and our private communities that we live in. I'm coincidentally the president of HOA. I just ask for pain all the time. But, we're looking at how we can improve those roads. We definitely don't have the money. So I just want you to think about that. As the mayor, anybody can call me. My information's online. I can show you by the dime how much money we have in our community. And I'm here to support it, but I need you to know that I have constraints and I need a way to fix it out. And I need the support from the county and the state as well. And I just appreciate this effort. We're going to do the best we can, but I'm super excited for this, and I hope everybody supports this come November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I know you brought up something with letting people come in to see your budget. That's one thing. We've seen comments on budgets and audits and all that. If you go to our website, if you go to pickensga.com, click on the finance department under the departments page, we have a report section that shows every year's budget, every year's audit, every year's tax millage rate, the 5-year history of the digest. It's updated on a regular basis. So you have access to a tremendous amount. If you're having a hard time sleeping, the audit report is several hundred pages long and mostly Excel spreadsheets. So you can really dig in deep into studying and understanding, but it's all there. We're not trying to keep anything from the public in any way, shape, or fashion. We're doing all we can to try to make sure it's provided so that you can see it. And then once you locate something, if you have questions, then call us or reach out. We'll schedule a time with our finance department and we can go through it if we need to walk through it. So definitely.
I think we have time for one more. I know Chairman Dockery's got to get on the road this
I'll be
evening.
here as long as I need to.
Okay, very good. Anyone else?
I just want to make a point that I think somebody wanted to kick the can down the road or made a suggestion. One of the things I've done in my business is invested heavily in equipment, in the proper equipment to do jobs efficiently and quickly. And I know that, for instance, I see the county's got a lot of Kubota equipment, and right now I believe Kubota is going up about 4% every 5-6 months on their equipment costs. But the question I want to ask is, where are we at with equipment? How constrained are we sometimes by not having the proper equipment? How much does it eat? Does it cost us when you send the wrong piece of equipment out to the job to just get by? It costs money. So I just like to know, I see that you can use this to buy equipment with, what your plans are, how much more efficient you'll be, and also, how quick you would buy that equipment, because time is money right now.
Right.
And when I talk to, whether it's Cat, Kubota, John Deere, nobody's going backwards on the prices. They're all going up.
So your timing on this, we actually had a meeting just recently going on our capital plan for the next 5 years, trying to look at where are we on equipment, what equipment do we need, what do we need to get ordered right now that's even if it's within the TSPLOST, in addition to the plan if TSPLOST passes, then what level of equipment we're on. We have a plan for a significant amount of equipment over the next year that we're going to have to purchase, whether it's out of SPLOST or whether it's out of TSPLOST. We have no choice. I know you made the reference to the long arm mowers. We've got some different Kubota mowers that are needing replaced fairly quickly. We've got a couple of other large pieces of equipment. I refused to hand Kirk the mic originally because I know he gets excited whenever he's looking at equipment. But just in today's pricing, within that one meeting, we were over $2 million within a 15-minute meeting of different equipment that we're going to need over the next 4 to 5 years. Probably significantly more because he's very conservative in what he was trying to present. And they do a great job. I know I see Mr. Christensen's here in the room with us. He's a mechanic for us in the Public Works Department. Our crews take care of the equipment that they've got. They do a fantastic job trying to keep it serviced, trying to keep it ran well. I know we catch flack sometimes by working a 4 10-hour shift on our Public Works crews, but one of the main reasons outside of employees being able to have that day is that equipment's got to be serviced, and that gives us a day for all the equipment to be worked on. It also gives us a day for the staff. Now, I don't know that every crew has ever had a 4-day work week because there's always some kind of event that has to have a crew that gets called out, but they do a fantastic job trying to service and maintain. But I know when Chairman Dockery went over the list of projects and the equipment that they were able to purchase, that's, like I said before, we have a plan if this passes and we have a plan if it doesn't. Our plan, if it doesn't, is to try to milk the life we can as far as we can, but get all that we can within what we currently have within our budget with the SPLOST. If it does pass, we're able to then start trading in that equipment while it still has good trade-in value and improve what's there. So I think one of the social media pictures just recently showed a picture of our loader, which still runs great, our rubber tire loader that was able to lift, but it's over 20 years old. It's not got a significant amount of life still left in it. So as we can kind of work on transitioning and getting good trade value on those, we're trying to look at it on both ends. And I'll actually hand it to Kurt.
Something else I'll throw out there, we don't put the wrong thing out there for the job. You know, on a large project, we've got some widening projects going on. Instead of going out and buying a new piece of equipment to do that, a lot of times we'll rent something. I mean, just like you would as a business owner, if it's something that, you know, I don't have, we're just going to use it for a limited amount of time, we'll go rent that piece of equipment, send it back home, and, you know, wait till, you know, we need it again before we bring it back out. Sometimes we have to use that, like we said, a large culvert over in Hobson, too big for the mini X's that we have. So we rented a 320 to set that piece of pipe in, and then we took it over to Buchanan, where we're widening the road because we had a large amount of dirt to move out there. Use that large piece of equipment is more efficient than us trying to use our mini X's. So at times, you know, if we do need a piece of equipment, we won't be out there trying to do it with something that's too small or something that's dangerous. You know, we'll try to get the right piece of equipment. And Chris is real good about working with us, and we are trying to update our fleet as we go along, but that's not saying we discount our old stuff. We keep maintaining it. We keep, like you said, Jason here, he fights that battle every day of, you know, putting stuff back together. I mean, we just put a transmission in a 20-year-old truck. I mean, that sounds crazy, but we use it for plowing. We use it for following the mowers. You know, it says used periodically. It makes more sense to put a $5,000 transmission in this truck as opposed to buying a new one, you know, that's $60,000. I mean, the price of this new stuff is just astronomical, but we do try to look after your money, our money. You know, we try to, we run it like a business, or you know, we try to, you know, be as efficient as possible.
A non-profit business.
Yeah.
Or not for profit.
Any other questions, comments? Once. Okay. Well, would you join me in thanking our panel tonight? Thank you guys. Special thanks to Chairman Dockery for making the trip over the mountain tonight. Safe travels. Thank you all for coming tonight and for your input and concern in our community. And drive safe.